We'll now transition into a conversation that's going to set the stage for our keynote. We're really excited to have Paul Greenwood. He's a nationally recognized fraud expert with very extensive experience in prosecuting and understanding fraud at a national level. In fact, he joined us last week for a telephone town hall to take calls from listeners and sort of answer questions about fraud and scams. So we're certainly delighted to have you here today. He's a retired deputy district attorney, spent 13 years as a solicitor in England and 22 years leading the elder abuse prosecution unit at the San Diego DA's office. He's prosecuted over 750 felony elder abuse cases and now spends a lot of his post-retirement speaking on behalf of AARP, like at events like this, consulting on cases, serving as an expert witness, training agencies, and he also sits on the National Adult Protective Services Association. Welcome, Paul Greenwood.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Good morning, and it's a real honor to be able to talk to Paul. I had about a 40-minute telephone conversation with Paula last week just to hear her story myself, but she has no idea what questions I'm going to ask her, nor do I. But that's the fun of being a prosecutor in the courtroom. But Paula, is this the first time publicly you've ever shared your story?
Yes, it is.
And when you were asked if you would be willing to share your story, did you hesitate? What were some of the feelings about coming forward publicly to share this?
Actually, I didn't. I was talking to, I called AARP and they talked to me about what had happened. And then they asked me, would you share your story? And I went, yes, because I don't want this to happen to other people. It was horrible. So, yes,
And I just want to make it clear, there is a very big difference between an English accent and a Scottish accent, okay? Just so that you don't get any ideas.
Think of Sean Connery.
Now, if you could just turn for a minute, I put up on the slide a photo that you sent me. Now, is this David Jansen, is this the guy that first you contacted through eHarmony?
Yes, yes.
Now, you did mention, though, in your story that he had a Houston address, but that's Dallas. Irving is near Dallas, right?
Oh, is it? I thought it was outside of Houston.
Irving, right. I'm right. And that's where the Dallas Cowboys used to play, right?
Okay. No.
Okay.
See, I don't follow football.
Okay, that's all right. So, did you try to Google that address?
I did, and the address came up, and it was like a condo complex, is what it was.
Okay, so I did it as well, Paula, and I came up with the same address, but it came up as a Toyota music factory.
Huh.
So I don't know. Anyway.
Don't ask me.
Okay, but is that the picture of him? Is that the picture that appeared on eHarmony?
No, he had longer hair, and he was standing in front of a mountain stream, and I asked him if he was a fly fisherman, and he said yes, which is my husband, whose name was also David. That's what he was, a fly fisherman, so,
Okay, but when he sent you that driver's license, did you hesitate to think, well, that's not the same guy who was on eHarmony? Or?
No, I didn't, because the other photo he had sent me, we exchanged headshots, and it looked very similar to this. And then as I said, on the WhatsApp calls, his hair was longer, but it was the same person.
Okay. And I want to oh, by the way, that's another picture of where he apparently was living in Irving. Yeah. Now, can you just tell us what this was that he sent you?
So this was the invitation to bid to get the job, and this is why he was, he had to search around for $3 million to put into his bank account.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, can you tell us what this was about, this promissory note?
Okay, so this is the promissory note that we both signed. And he was the one that he set it up, and he was the one that insisted we do this.
And that phone number that we see there of David Jansen, is that a number that you were calling from time to time and
Yes.
communicating with?
Yes, it was.
And then later that became discontinued, huh?
Well, I actually never called it after we broke up. I didn't even want to do that.
Okay, so you don't know whether that phone number is still in existence or not.
No, I don't. I really don't.
So now I want to turn to what you did when you discovered that you were the victim. You mentioned two agencies, and I think both are represented here today, the Attorney General's Office and the FBI. How
Yes.
did you contact the FBI?
Through their website, and there was a form I had to fill out. And I got a response, and it said, you need to fill out this form, and it took me right back to the same form. So it was kind of a dead end.
Was that through ic3.gov, do you know?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And then how did you contact the Attorney General's Office?
Same thing. It was I just went into their website and filled out a form.
And did you ever get, other than that initial first response from the FBI, did you ever get any human being contacting you?
No, I never did.
Had you left your phone number on the FBI report and on the AG's report?
I probably, I had to fill out my name, address, the whole bit, so.
Did you ever think about phoning either of those two agencies or even your local Santa Fe Police Department?
No, I didn't. I was hoping that I would get a response, and then I went into AARP's fraud site, and I think I put something on there. And I think that's when I got a call from AARP, and they interviewed me about what had happened and told me about the romance scam groups and how to get involved in those. So.
I just want to show you something else you sent me. Is this a copy of the $8 million check that,
Yes.
or $6 million check
6.8 million.
that he sent to you?
Yes.
And he actually sent you what appeared to be a real check.
Yes, it had a perforated edge. When I made a copy, it had watermarks on it. And I actually called the bank. And it took several tries for someone to be able to help me, but I had someone tell me it was a real check, and it was that check number and that amount, but they could not tell me who it was made out to.
And what did he explain why he wanted you to have the original check? What did he want you to do with it?
Well, he said I was coming next week. This was before the emergency on the rig, and that he would then be able to deposit it, and he would get our money back, give me my money back. He even offered, when it passed the 60-day window of being tax deductible or being not tax free, he said he would pay whatever the tax bill was, the penalty for that.
Now, this morning, Paula actually brought with her the FedEx envelope that contained this check, correct?
Yes.
And she showed it to me for the first time, and what I found astonishing was in the top left-hand corner of the FedEx label is the name of the sender. Who was the sender?
It was a law firm. And I asked him about it. He said, well, I have no idea what Chevron does, as far as, but I had asked them to send a check, and I guess that's who they used,
So I looked them up this morning for the first time, and they are a real law firm out of Oakland, California. Now, whether or not they know about this, I don't know, but guess what? I'll find out tomorrow when I call them. You mentioned that the money payment, it was in the form of a cashier's check, correct?
Yes. So he didn't have my bank account number.
And you were told to send that to who?
To his bookkeeper. And
So he gave you an address.
he gave me an address. It was a P.O. box in Nevada.
Okay. So we have a known address. It's a P.O. box, and I love to see the fact that the gentleman from the AG's office is writing this down. This is good, because I know that's going to happen after this event. He and I are going to talk, and we're going to follow up on this, aren't we? Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we have an address of a P.O. box to which you sent a cashier's check. Is that
Yes.
correct? And what also struck me, because I didn't know this from last week, when your financial advisor tried to prevent you from liquidating your IRA, you told him that it was for who?
Well, he didn't try to prevent me at that point.
Okay.
The first he was willing to do it. It was a partially true story, and then I have a cousin who's 3 weeks younger than I am, and he actually was frauded by his investment advisor and lost all of his savings. And this was being investigated by the FBI. So I kind of used that as the story that he was trying to liquidate something, and he needed some money to buy a piece of property.
But why didn't you tell him about the Chevron connection?
Well, I didn't want him to know anything about this man that I was seeing.
Why not?
Because he would discourage me. I was sure he would. And it just seemed much more plausible that I could get the money if I told the story about my cousin. And I told him we were signing a promissory note, too.
And in order to get the cashier's check, did you physically have to walk into your bank?
Yes, I did.
And where was that?
That was in Santa Fe.
And did the bank teller or the person who helped you get the cashier's check question you on why you wanted this money?
No, they didn't. They had to get approval for it, but they didn't, the manager had to approve it, but other than that, they didn't say anything.
I know this is a hypothetical, but supposing that bank teller or the bank manager had taken you into a private office and said, Paula, $270,000, this is a lot of money that you've never ever asked for before. Has anyone contacted you online? Is somebody that has been asking you for money? Is there somebody who's maybe romantically saying that they're interested in you? If that conversation had taken place, might it have triggered something in you?
It might have, yeah, it might have. And, I just wasn't discouraged by anyone. And actually, that bank had just changed hands. It had new owners. So the tellers and a lot of the people in there had no idea who I was. And they didn't question me. Now, I did get a call from the bank a couple of days later from their financial department, and asked if I had really, if I was the one that had asked for this cashier's check, and I said, yes, it is. A lot of this was seemed so good to me that I just didn't want to admit that this couldn't be real.
And did they ask you any other questions besides asking you, did anyone else ask you to send this? Did they try to probe you? Anything?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And one final question about that is, when you went to the bank, did David, was he on the phone with you?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, all right. What's your final, what is one of the message that you'd like to get out to the general public about this whole experience that you've been through?
Well, I wish someone had been able to wake me up sooner. The other thing is if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And I think, education is a lot. I met through the fraud, I met an 80-year-old woman who had just lost her husband and had gone through almost exactly the same thing.
Oh.
And so, and there has to be some consequences for this. And there has to be some help. And in fact, I saw AARP, well, I worked for a tax firm. So when I cut him off completely, I called my former boss, who I had worked for 8 years, and said, I need to talk to you. And I brought everything with me. And he said, we need to hire a private detective to find this guy. I said, this guy is probably in some call center in, somewhere. And, that's not going to happen.
Can I also interrupt and say, what was the reason why you needed to go back to work?
Well, actually, I needed to go back to work because the woman I had hired, I'd been retired for a little over a year, had not worked out, and they called me, and this was the gift to me. He and his new partner, who was going to take over the firm, called me and asked me if I could come back to work for them. So March 2nd, I went back to work, and that is the money that will be paying my tax bill.
And the tax bill, can you tell us how much the IRS is taking or has taken from you?
Yeah, both together, it was $82,000.
So the scammers got $270,000,
yes.
and the IRS is going to get $82,000.
Yeah.
Well, on behalf of everybody here, Paula, you're brave, you're courageous. We need to hear this story for so many reasons. Yeah. This is a lesson for us all. And who knows, the Attorney General is still writing down notes. And I make this commitment to you, between us, and hopefully the FBI, and anybody else who's listening, we're going to do whatever we can to at least try something, okay?
Thank you.
So would you join me in thanking Paula? Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And you've got a standing ovation right over there, so bless you, you deserve it, Paula. Thank you.